Welcome to the Munded Teacups podcast. Molly and I are sitting with our cups of tea. Hopefully you've got a chance to sit down and enjoy listening to us discussing today's topic, which is all age education. So if you've got more than one child, you may well be wondering how best to manage teaching them at their different ages and stages. So Molly, what's the age spread in your family?
Okay, well, it's 10 years actually, so I've got it's kind of like two lots of two really. I've got two boys which are just 21 months apart, so very similar, and then two girls. There's 5 years between the two middle ones, and then two girls which are almost 3 years apart, kind of 2 3/4, 3 years. So yeah, so it's very much having like all the mistakes that I've made the first time round, I can make new mistakes the second time round.
And in my case, there's 7.5 years between my oldest and my youngest. My middle one's right in the middle.
Right, okay.
It's a 4-year and a 3.5 year gap. And actually, it's been one of the benefits to us of home ed is that they've been at home together, because with that 4-year gap, each one would have been going to school as the next one was born.
Yes, we could have been missed out, wouldn't they, on a new sibling?
Yeah,
yes,
they wouldn't have been around. Some people felt that was a bonus. Would have been a bonus, but I felt, that's a shame.
No, I think that bonding time must have been really important.
Yeah,
definitely. So how have you managed the teaching with the different ages then?
Yeah, that's shifted over the time. But the basic philosophy behind our education is, and our homeschooling ideas has been, we are family. We do things together. In our family, we do things together. And my approach to education has been, great, we can be together on the sofa reading great books together.
Yes.
So I've done a lot, all of us together. When they were too small to understand, they would still be listening in.
Yes.
I would be breastfeeding the little one while reading to the others. Those sorts of things.
Yeah.
On the whole, my older two, I would sort of kind of teach the same thing to, and it worked very well. They kind of were on the same wavelength. That hasn't worked so well now. My oldest is in college, and so I'm kind of teaching the younger two together. That hasn't quite worked as well, so I actually am teaching them a bit more separately than I expected to be.
Yes.
Because the children have different needs, different approaches.
Absolutely, different characters, different everything. Yes. Yeah.
So the pairing hasn't worked in the same way. The second pair didn't work. But on the whole, the reality of it has been that we can read a book together, and then their response to that, which is their work, would be different.
Yes,
so
that's similar. Yeah.
One history passage from a history book, the older child is expected to write a good 3 or 4 paragraphs. The younger child maybe colour in a picture.
Yes, that's so similar to us. Yes.
So they both have the same education, but their response to it and their own work would be at the different points.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's kind of how it's happened over the years.
Yes.
And now my middle child is working a lot more independently, which is giving a little bit more time to helping my younger child, who struggles a bit with some aspects of education as well. So that's helpful that she's got a bit more one-on-one time from me now.
So I was going to say you've got a bit more time. Yeah.
In theory.
Yes, it doesn't really happen. I think I've noticed that actually, that there are different seasons in life, aren't there? And we were just talking about this earlier, that actually I can sit down now with a cup of tea and a book, and I don't do it every day, but because my children are older, I just can do that. Whereas that probably seems absolutely impossible to a mum with, several very young children. Like, how on earth does she ever get to do that? And that's not because I'm doing anything particularly amazing or they're not. It's just simply because we're at different stages in life, and I didn't do that either when I had small children. So I do think it's things change over the years, and some things become easier, some things become more challenging. So it's
definitely
it's enjoying the year.
Yes, I think that's something to say, is whatever you're kind of struggling with now, that is a real struggle, and I wouldn't diminish that at all.
Yes.
But there will be that will ease. Things shift.
Yes.
You won't be stuck with that forever. So
no,
there's times
absolutely.
when you sort of think, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I think if you can hold on, it will not be the same
No.
issue for always, will it?
And there will be a time when actually they can strap themselves in the car by themselves. They don't need someone to buckle them in, and they can put on their own shoes, even if you have to tell them 20 times. And they can even bring you tea in bed. We had, very surprisingly, the other day. So, yeah.
So what sort of approach have you had to the teaching the different ages that you've had?
Yes, I think probably pretty similar to you, actually. I used to certainly teach the 2 boys together. There's only 21 months difference between them. The second one, because he's dyslexic, there was probably a bigger gap between having read the story or whatever it was we were studying, what I then asked them to do afterwards. But he's really, really kind of spot on and wanting to know things, and he's a really quick thinker. So actually, I think kind of intellectually, as we were kind of going through stories together, he contributed heaps. So and I think that's probably really helped him, working constantly, always above alongside his older brother with all the debating and discussions. He's actually now the one that I think he did say he had a teacher the other day. He said, "I think she taught more than me, Mum. I couldn't get a word in edgeways." He said, "That's unusual for me." And certainly the comments from his college teachers are, he likes to talk, doesn't he? Always ask questions. He won the best improved player for rugby in his end of term rugby season, and he said apparently it's because all the coaches said he was the one that asked the most questions.
Brilliant.
So
it has said him in good stead.
Yes, absolutely. His question answering. So so that, I think that worked pretty well. So in all the sort of like the project work, the history, geography, everything we did together, I would teach the boys together, and then they'd do separate kind of written afterwards. And obviously maths and English taught them separately as well. And then for my daughter, who's 5 years younger than the second boy, she would often just play. She did lots of playing while I was doing that, and then I did then have a time with all 4 of them, particularly when the older one was doing GCSEs, was starting that, and I very much felt I had to help him do GCSEs, having the second one doing other stuff, and particularly being, all his dyslexia prone as well. So they were all doing completely different things. My third daughter in kind of primary education and wanting to learn and being quite able and wanting to do it, and then the little one just playing. So that was quite challenging, because having very much been able to teach together, I did have a few years where I really could do very little teaching together, and I found that quite difficult, because that wasn't generally the style that we'd had, but it was just the circumstances in our lives. So I literally did myself, I'd never done this before, and I haven't done it since, but I did myself a timetable. So I knew who had time with me at what time on what days, and actually that, for me, for those middle years, that was the only way that I could kind of manage it, and that worked well. That was fine. We still did some things together. We'd still do reading aloud together. The little one, can just play or do Lego or colour in or whatever. We tend to all kind of like read aloud stories. We listen to Audible quite a bit now, because the older boys like that, and we tend to go for books that they would like, because I'm able to read aloud more to the younger ones, so I tend to think that the Audible will do if we do it together, we aim it for the older ones. So the older 3 all enjoy it, and the little one I'm sure she definitely does pick things up, definitely.
Yes.
So so I think it's just been different ages, and then now I teach the girls together again with the sort of all the project work, but again, because my younger daughter's dyslexic, I think they have very different abilities when it comes to kind of recording everything, and so that's quite different. And I think it's really important, the learning through play. I think that's a hugely important thing. So actually, lots of time to play for the little ones, while the older ones do, slightly more formal work.
Yes, because it's not that they're not learning.
Absolutely,
point,
definitely, yeah. It's so important, play.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about how talking about response of the children is different, and sometimes I've kind of mixed it up a bit and thrown in something different. So instead of a written response, I've asked for a video response.
That's a really good idea.
So they can actually do that together, and that's something, because I want to try and encourage them to have their relationship together and work together on things sometimes. So they've either videoed a response or recorded a radio program together or an interview, or pretend to be King Harold and I don't know.
Yes.
The reporter.
Yes, there are definitely other ways. It doesn't have to be written, does it? There are other ways that you can.
So that helps them to do something together as a response that suits both of them.
Yes, that's a
They're
really
both
good
able
idea.
to access that.
Yes,
so.
Yeah.
I do remember thinking about the GCSEs when the first year that my oldest did GCSEs, and we really had to help him with doing that a lot. A lot of his learning had to come from us, be directed by us.
Yeah.
And I did feel again that the girls had missed having me with them. We did still do read alouds together, but that year there was a lot more time that they had to find their own things to do for the year, which was one of the reasons that he then went into college.
Yes.
Because of the shift in the dynamics of how it was working for the family. So you find a path.
You do, and I think it's different in different seasons as well. Again, definitely. To sort of like, if there are any mums listening who have got younger children, that it will just change. So I don't think there is a right way and a wrong way, and I think you'll find your way as your children grow, and sometimes you will be doing lots together, and other times they'll be doing slightly separately, and all different children will work together. It just changes over the years, but I think it's good to have a long-term approach as well, because it's over a long period of time. And so actually, if you have 1 year, like you said, when your girls weren't getting quite as much focused attention, and we've certainly had years when maybe the younger ones, when we've had GCSEs ditto, haven't had the focused attention, but actually now both the boys are having their their academic education at college, and so actually now I have heaps of time with the girls, and we do all stuff together all the time. So it's seeing it in the long. If you have one or 2 years and you think this isn't quite what I would want, actually it'll make up for it over time.
Yes, and I had to kind of talk to myself and say that year wasn't a wasted year for the girls. It wasn't a bad year or wrong year.
Yeah.
They were still developing and learning, and they were still learning how the family rolled, how things go.
Yes.
So it is different. It may not be your ideal. This is the problem. Don't we set ourselves up to fail if you've got the big picture in your head of how beautiful it is?
Yes.
Beautifully run homeschool.
You want that beautiful Charlotte Mason homeschool with everyone just sitting around listening to stories.
Yes. Yes, mother.
And none of us have that, I don't think.
No, certainly not for very more than 5 minutes.
Yes. Yes. I think food is another real good, if you've got an age range, a real good kind of communal joining thing. I do remember in the sort of the year when they're all doing different things, but we used to, on a Friday, I would have an attempt at doing some kind of literature with them, like just sort of something, with a fun way of doing something, which is slightly more literary, and we would sort of more classical, and I'd always would have hot chocolate and squirty cream and marshmallows, or would have really yummy biscuits or caramel something or others, or so I think food is quite a good way of uniting even teenagers who maybe don't want to do something. If you give them food, then that's
come.
Good. Yes, they'll come.
Make them food and they will come.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I hope we've given you a few ideas about it being possible to teach children of different ages in your own home, and how the family can work around that. So I hope you get a chance to mull that over with or without a cup of tea, and thank you for listening.